Today, we are looking at how human disturbance affects the behavior of small and large prey animals, specifically squirrels and deer in Elder Grove Regional Park. Understanding how wildlife responds to human disturbance and habitat features is important because urbanization is reshaping ecosystems. Changes in behavior, like where animals move, feed, and when they're active, can influence population survival and the balance of local ecosystems. Human features such as roads and walking trails can disrupt wildlife behavior. Past research shows that deer tend to avoid areas with higher disturbance because they interpret humans as a risk. Squirrels, on the other hand, are more tolerant towards humans, though they avoid heavily trafficked areas. Some studies also show that road noise can mask predator cues for squirrels, making them road thief safer than they actually are. Our research question asked, how do areas of human disturbance influence the behavior of small and large prey animals in Elder Grove Regional Park? Our first hypothesis was that squirrels would be less sensitive to roads than deer. This is because road noise masks predator cues for squirrels, while deer perceive disturbance as a significant risk. From this, our prediction was that deer would be observed less frequently near roads and trails compared to squirrels. Our second hypothesis proposed that deer would shift their diet activity more strongly than squirrels in response to disturbance. Since deer are larger and more visible, they face a higher detection rate near humans. We predicted that deer will be more nocturnal near roads and trails, while squirrels will show no or little change.
For this project, 17 camera traps were set up at Aldergrove Regional Park, BC, Canada. Data collection began September 17th, 2025 and ended October 15th, 2025, yielding a total of 28 trap nights. During this time, cameras at sites C3 and C6 malfunctioned, only yielding 7 and 24 trap nights respectively. Additionally, we measured the trap success of individuals within a 30-minute time interval, with multiple captures of the same species during this time being considered a single individual to avoid double counting. As for data analysis, we had a sample size of 17, and the type of analysis we used were regressions. Our independent variables were distance from the roads and trails, which were measured using Google Earth, whereas our dependent variables were squirrel and deer trap success for our first hypothesis, and for our second hypothesis, squirrel and deer trap success at night and day. After calculating the average sunrise and sunset times during the time of data collection, it was determined that day is defined as 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and night was defined as 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
So to start off with our results, we first have the comparisons between road distances and comparing those to the squirrel and deer trap successes. And what we can see from our regression tests on these results is that neither had significant relationships with each other, indicating that there is indeed no relationship between road distances and deer or squirrel trap success rate. So we can see for our trail distances comparing to deer and squirrel trap rates that when looking at the p-values from our regression analyses, we can see that both p-values were too large, indicating that there is no relationship or significance between trail distances and deer or squirrel trap success rates. So now next for the results, we can see the comparisons of road and trail distances for either squirrel or deer on either graph here. And what we can see that for technically all four different scenarios, that all four still produce no significance or relationship between any of them, meaning that road distance or trail distance has no effect on squirrel trap success or deer trap success. Following day, then we have night, and we can see in here that for squirrel or deer at difference of road distances or trail distances, we can see that the p-values for all of these would be too large, meaning that there is no significant relationship for trap success for squirrel or deer at road distances or trail distances. But one interesting thing to note, though, is that there were absolutely zero squirrels seen at all. There was a zero trap success for any squirrels during the entire nighttime process.
Okay, our study aimed to evaluate how proximity to human disturbance like roads and trails influences the habitat use and dial activity of two prey species, squirrels and deer. Our results revealed that none of the relationships were statistically significant. As we saw in the results, all of the p-values were turned out to be much greater than 0.05. Since all the relationships were not statistically significant, our results do not support both of our hypotheses 1 and 2. These findings suggest that neither species showed strong avoidance of roads or trails, which is contrary to our initial predictions. And these findings also suggest that there was a limited behavioral avoidance of human features by either species in the park. And this suggests that this species may tolerate human disturbance, especially when it's consistent and predictable. Additionally, the fact that no squirrels were found at any site in the night could explain why our dial activity analysis showed no significant nocturnal shifts for squirrels. Okay, our findings do not support the findings of past studies like Kale's 2016 and Obersler 2017. And reasons for this could include that our study design and duration, like our study ran for 28 trap nights with 17 cameras, while many published studies like Kale 2016 and Obersler 2017, they used larger datasets over longer periods. A smaller sample size may reduce statistical power and may miss important behavioral patterns. Variation in disturbance intensity could be another reason why our findings disagreed with those of past studies' findings. Roads and trails in Aldergrove may have lower traffic volumes compared to sites in other studies. And if disturbance is moderate and predictable, animals may adapt rather than avoid. And finally, species and landscape differences could also explain the disagreement that we had with other studies. Okay, so in conclusion, our study found no strong evidence that deer or squirrels significantly change their habitat use or dial activity in response to proximity to roads or trails. And ecologically, our findings suggest that human infrastructure may not exert strong behavioral pressure on squirrels or deer, at least within the spatial and temporal scope of this study. In regards to limitations and future directions, future studies could expand sampling duration and maybe compare multiple parks with varying disturbance levels. So overall, our study contributes to understanding how prey species navigate human-modified landscapes and highlights the importance of considering differences between species and locations when planning for wildlife conservation.